The winter sun had barely cleared the slate rooftops of Alderhaven when Elias Marin lifted the shutters of his clock shop. Frost feathered the glass panes. The street outside was already clattering with trolley bells and impatient footfalls. Alderhaven prided itself on punctuality. Meetings began on the nose, trams departed to the second, strangers elbowed one another at crosswalks, and the lone courtesy most people still bothered with was a roughly whispered, "Excuse me," hurled over the shoulder as they hurried away. Elias had lived among gears and pendulums for 41 quiet years, practicing an art few remembered needed practice. His shop smelled of cedar oil and brass polish. Clocks lined every surface, some grand and mahogany, rich, others no larger than a walnut, all ticked in complicated harmony, but none dared fall out of step with Alderhaven's stern public tower, whose carillon ruled the city like a metronome. And even on a Tuesday that felt identical to every Tuesday before it, a small parcel arrived on Elias's workbench. No return address, only a faded sticker from the provincial postal depot. Inside lay a silver pocket watch and a note in looping hand. "For repair, if such a marvel can be coaxed back to life. It belonged to my grandfather, and it still knows things that humans forget." First, the turned light, the bases of the clock, the beam, is called Murian Bath, or without, and it turns the watch over ornate Roman numerals, a dragonfly etched on the case, and a seam along the bezel where two unrelated metals fused, ordinary silver and something darker that drank light. The mainspring had snapped. He could feel it in the slack resistance when he wound the crown. He set to work. As he worked, the city marched on. Conductors barking schedules, merchants counting coins by touch, nurses sprinting across trolley tracks. Elias heard it through his open transom window. Alderhaven's collective heartbeat, rapid and relentless. Restoring a mainspring is routine unless the device resists. This one resisted. The coils clung to each other with microscopic burrs. When Elias freed them, a faint vibration ran up the tweezers, as though he'd plucked a string on an unseen violin. He polished the balance wheel, reseated the crown, and closed the case. Then he offered the watch a curt nod, the way a musician might to an instrument before the opening chord. He wound it twice. Tick, tick. Satisfied, he placed the piece on a velvet square and moved on to a cuckoo clock that had swallowed its own bird. At noon, a customer rang the bell. Mrs. Cantor, a retired librarian, came to retrieve her mantel clock. She paid, tested the chime, and slipped the brass key into her purse. "Thank you, Mr. Marin," she said, genuine warmth softening the edges of her voice. Elias answered without looking up. "A pleasure." Something clicked behind him, a sharp metallic whirl like a mainspring unspooling in reverse. He turned. The silver pocket watch lay exactly where he'd left it, yet the hands now pointed 5 minutes earlier than when he had set them. Perhaps he'd misread the dial. He tapped, the crystal another tick resumed. The watch stuttered, then leapt forward, catching up to real time in a blink. Odd, he thought, chalking it up to a loose cannon pinion. Mrs. Cantor tottered out into the afternoon, and Elias forgot the incident until closing when he compared his workshop clock with the silver watch again. 5 minutes short. He reset it. It lost nothing overnight. The next morning, a bicycle courier burst in, cheeks flared from the cold. "Envelope for you, sir," the courier said. "Rush job." He scribbled on a handheld device, pushed the stylus toward Elias. Elias signed. The courier blinked at the forest of clocks and at the old man bent like a question mark behind the counter. The courier's manners caught up at the door. "Oh, thank you." Were. Both men heard it this time. The pocket watch, lounging atop its velvet, rotated its minute hand backwards, exactly one segment, 5 minutes, and stopped. Elias's breath stalled. The courier stared, open-mouthed. In the hush, the city outside hiccuped. A trolley bell rang twice, then rang those same 2 notes again. Across the street, a woman stumbled, glanced around as if she'd misplaced a thought, and resumed walking, apparently none the wiser. "What did you just see?" Elias asked. The watch rewound, the courier whispered, and it pulled everything with it, experimented. The courier said thank you once more, nothing. But when Elias handed him a mug of hot tea 10 minutes later, and the courier offered another heartfelt thanks, the phenomenon repeated. Watch back 5 minutes. Whirled back 5 minutes. The courier left, promising not to speak a word. Elias bolted the door, skipped lunch, and ran Tess. He held the watch beside a ticking metronome, authentic expression of gratitude within earshot. The tinkerer whispering thanks to himself for not snapping a screw, the radio announcer saying the words through the crackly speaker, tinkered the backwards lurch. Sincere thank yous worked, sardonic, perfunctory, or muttered versions did not. A rule emerged. One watch, 5 minutes, no matter the size of the crowd. The whole of Alderhaven slid back together. No one except Elias retained memory of the lost interval, unless they had witnessed the watch firsthand. That evening, he closed early, blind to everything but the pocket watch in his palm. At home, he disassembled it again. The contested piece, the darker metal fused to the silver, refused all analysis. His file skittered off it like soap on marble, acid left no mark. Under the jeweler's loupe, its surface was etched with lines that rearranged themselves if he looked too long. He hardly slept. By dawn, he had built a harness connecting the pocket watch to an ordinary mantel clock. If the property transferred, he could observe whether multiple devices shared the same reservoir of backward moments or functioned independently. He lugged the mantel clock to Morningside Plaza. The city's shell of punctuality cracked before 9. Coffee vendors snapped at clients who took too long, fishing for coins. Managers barked at subordinates to walk and talk. Elias set the mantel clock on a bench, the watch glued inside its wooden case. A boy of perhaps 8 sat beside him, clutching a chipped skateboard. "Cool clock," the boy said. "I suppose." The boy noticed a washer on the ground, picked it up, and handed it to Elias. "You dropped this, mister." Elias hadn't, but he played along. "Thank you, Shirk." 5 minutes vanished. The boy glanced at the tower stanchion. "Hey, the tram's back where it was," he pointed at the clock. "Did it do that?" "It seems so." "Take it," Elias urged. "See what happens if you keep it near." The boy's eyes widened. He gripped the clock, ran across the plaza, and repeated a series of experiments, helping a pedestrian pick up spilled groceries, returning a lost glove, giving away a sticker. Each recipient thanked him. Every time, reality tiptoed backward. The boy whooped. Soon several children, then adults, gathered, jaws dropping as bags unsplit and apples rolled back into hands. By afternoon, rumors scuttled through Alderhaven. "There's a clock in Morningside that buys you 5 extra minutes every time somebody says thanks." Business people detoured to confirm, then sprinted off late again, desperate to catch up with their own paradoxes. The municipal council convened an emergency session. Trams derailed from schedules, banks recalibrated timestamps. The tower bell rang thrice at 3 o'clock, then thrice at what should have been 2:55, then again at 3 o'clock. Confusion thickened like fog. Elias, meanwhile, had retreated to his shop and silenced every clock. In the stillness, he forged replicas of wristbands, wristwatches, tiny pendants, each incorporating the mystery alloy shaved from the original. To his amazement, the sliver regrew overnight like living tissue. He would never run out. He etched a dragonfly on each face, then walked Alderhaven's avenues, distributing them not to bankers, politicians, or journalists, but to crossing guards, school teachers, cafe servers, people who dealt in daily courtesies overlooked by the haste of others. Rules emerged organically. 1. The wearer could not trigger his own clock. Gratitude had to be received, not offered. 2. Each expression rewound precisely 5 minutes, no stacking. 3. If multiple clocks were present, only the nearest to the speaker responded. The effect on the city was gradual but profound. The first week brought chaos. Lawyers tried to exploit the mechanism, planting interns near judges to fish for thank yous after each objection. But juries quickly sensed manipulation. The thank yous lacked sincerity, failing to activate the clocks. Traders shouted gratitude across the stock exchange floor, only to learn that disingenuous phrases were inert. In contrast, a hospital orderly holding a door for weary relatives saved their patients, and the ward's surgeons found themselves gifted unexpected pauses between emergencies. It dawned on Alderhaven that the 5-minute miracles required genuine emotion. There was no shortcut. One could not bully a clock into kindness. And so the city slowed. Not as a concession to inefficiency, but as an homage to authenticity. Commuters began letting one another merge in traffic, knowing that a heartfelt wave of thanks might ripple the morning backward. In bakeries, customers bothered to learn baristas' names. Gratitude offered in earnest arrived in richer tones, and time obliged. Crowds paused for buskers, not out of pity, but from curiosity. And when coins dropped, musicians nodded their thanks, and the prior 5 minutes returned, allowing the song to begin anew and more listeners to gather. The council attempted regulation. Temporal realignment permits must be issued, they declared. Inspectors appeared, armed with clipboards and frowns. Yet each time an inspector confiscated a dragonfly watch, another citizen quietly gifted one away. The phenomenon eluded legislation precisely because it was invisible until kindness revealed it. By midsummer, Alderhaven's metrics changed. Punctuality slipped a little on paper, but productivity climbed. Fewer accidents occurred. Trolleys seldom collided with pedestrians, flinging themselves before closing doors because passengers knew another 5 minutes might be earned by thanking the conductor who waited. Hospitals logged shorter recovery times. Gratitude, it seemed, was a healing agent long before it rewound clocks. Elias visited a corner cafe to observe. Marisol, the barista, wore one of his earliest bracelets. A student spilled espresso on his thesis pages. Mortified, Marisol supplied towels, rebrewed the drink, and complimented his meticulous footnotes. The student, cheeks flushed, said thank you honestly. The bracelet shimmered, the spill never happened, the thesis lay pristine. Yet neither of them moved on immediately. They kept talking, laughter filling the reclaimed minutes. The magic mattered less than the moment. The student mattered less than the moment. The courier, D.O. Elias had since learned, burst through the shop door one evening, coat askew. Mr. Marin, the whole city knows they're calling it dragonfly time, Elias chuckled. What do they think it is? Some say physics glitch. Some say collective hallucination. Someone at the university claims empathy alters quantum decoherence, but everyone agrees gratitude is the switch. Theo hesitated. I need to ask, why did you share it? You could have sold the secret, bottled 5 minutes at a time. Elias rotated the original pocket watch in his palm. Because time was never mine to sell. It's ours to notice. He gestured to the quiet shop front. Do you hear? Theo strained. The usual clamor outside had softened to a conversational hush, broken by pockets of laughter. The distant strum of guitar, trolley bells chiming patiently. Less noise? Theo said. Less panic, Elias corrected, and the clocks still turn. Months passed. Alderhaven's motto, the City of Speed, dissolved from brochures, replaced by City of Second Chances. Tourists arrived expecting spectacle, discovering instead a gentler rhythm. Time still rewound, but increasingly it did so not to purchase urgency, but to embellish gratitude already given. People began saying thank you even when no dragonfly timepiece was near, because the habit felt good on the tongue. One autumn evening, Elias locked up and walked to the riverfront. The municipal tower loomed, its face lit gold. He sensed Alderhaven listening to its own pulse, no longer racing. Lanterns bobbed along the quay where families picnicked beneath trees whose leaves blazed crimson. A teenager jogged past, nearly colliding with an elderly man. The teen caught the man's elbow, steadying him. Sorry, sir, he murmured. Are you okay? The man nodded. Thank you for catching me. A wristwatch on the teenager's arm glinted. Hands reversed, 5 minutes. They both smiled, then continued at half the speed they'd used before. Elias leaned on the railing, considering, for all the rewinds, life still advanced. Children grew, lovers aged, seasons ticked forward. The 5-minute gifts did not much lengthen a lifespan. They changed how that span felt. They were reminders, gentle as dragonfly wings, that every moment carried the potential to be relived if first it was lived well. He pulled the original note from his coat pocket, the one that had come with the parcel. Its ink had smudged months ago, yet the signature remained. RRW. He remembered no client by that name. He wasn't sure the parcel had obeyed ordinary postal routes at all. Elise drafted a reply. To RW, your grandfather's marvel is mended. It now belongs to many. Alderhaven is learning the measure of 5 minutes and the worth of 2 words. I hope that honors him. With gratitude, E.M., he folded the letter, slipped it into the silver watch's velvet pouch, and addressed it to No Street, No City only, wherever dragonflies go. The next dawn, the pouch was gone from his counter. In its place lay a sliver of the dark alloy, twinkling like a mote of starlight, accompanied by a single line of script, Keep the balance. Elias smiled. He set to work forging one more timepiece, knowing full well it would be the first of many yet. The city outside stretched, unhurried, under a rising sun that illuminated gears within gears, the tick of clock hands, the flutter of dragonfly wings, and the human heart that beat kinder for having learned the price of gratitude. exactly 5 minutes, and everything that could fit inside them